I just want to go back from yesterday. If we remember this, right? It was just a piece of wood or 2 pieces of wood. This was just a piece of tape. Okay. This was just that Martha Stewart white, you know, that white stencil. Okay. Then the darkness came from what? What
Did you burn that? I forget.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
burned
yeah.
around the outside. So again, what did I really try to talk about yesterday? I really tried to talk about that
Darks and lights.
outside line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really
Contrast.
tried, right. I really tried to talk about sharpening the outside line before I put the wax on it. Okay. So I'm very, very specific about trying to establish some point of contrast in some area. And it doesn't have to be in the whole, I'm not talking about doing this to the whole area, to every flower or every part of the composition, but definitely like here, I really tried to get this to be bright, you know, bright white, and this to go back. And then what happened was when they put the wax over it, I did do probably 4 coats of wax, right? So if you guys can see, I did the clear wax medium, just like I did for you yesterday. Then I did a tiny little bit of a light pink, right? So my tendency is to go clear and then a light color. Then I put a dark color over the light color. And then I went back to the light color. And then after those 3 layers of the wax, then I used a brown and a red pigment stick. Okay, so like that, like literally like cooking ingredients, that's how I did that. So if you get really close, you can see all the sort of like beauty. You can see here too, right? I'm still allowing some of this just encaustic gesso texture to come through here, right? And then I have definitely thicker wax here. And then, right, with the encaustic paint. And then just kind of wax medium here. And I just kind of brush it on and feel it out. You know, I don't need to make too much of a strategy. And I didn't really scrape this at all. I did fuse it, right? And we talked, I thought we had a really nice, very strong connection yesterday about fusing, right? So we'll talk a lot more about that, because really, if I could do anything this weekend, it would be to like kind of give you guys, like I said, these steps, right? To build confidence and create a trusting sort of platform that you know you're going to be successful. Okay. So I'm not trying to overwhelm or go too fast. I just want success, success, success. Okay. Let's talk about this side for a second. So this side is very minimal, right? I did like almost nothing. Okay. I mounted the photo on the inside. I folded it. I painted with wax medium, and then I never fused it. I never hit it with a heat gun. These little dots, does anybody remember when I did those?
In the underpainting, didn't you?
I did those with the Sharpie.
The Sharpie, okay.
And I did, remember this? Look how nice this looks now. Remember, I just touched up that little line right there to give that flower a little pop, right? So this little black Sharpie line really separates this flower from this background, okay? Also, look how lovely like this side is. Like, remember how excited I was about this photo because of all of these pretty forms, right? This really pretty arch here. And look at this. I did a little outline on this flower, which is also really helping that come off the background, okay? And then all I did was I added a tiny little bit of pigment stick, okay? So there are a couple more things that I could do to this. I definitely think it could just stay like this. It could just be like super sweet, front and back, stay like this, be moody. And this totally reminds me, I'm sorry, I'm moving it. Totally reminds me of a pictorialist photo, right? It really looks historic and aged and beautiful and soft. So I could add some more pigment sticks to it if I wanted it to be a little bit more colorful, right? So that's a very simple thing to do. And I can demonstrate that. So let me just, so this is again, back to sort of like the simple, the heck happened to my other phone? Wait, sorry. I don't know where my, oh, here I am. All right, I'm gonna pin this one. Okay, so now this one should be biggest, right? Okay. So before we even get like into encaustic painting or anything, this very simple process of just putting wax medium on and then hand painting with pigment sticks is very lovely, right? So here are some pigment sticks. These are some of my favorite colors. I mean, and with these guys, like I honestly feel like every single R&F pigment stick is a beautiful color. I think that the browns look good. Like I could, because I did these warm colors on the outside, so I did pinks and purples. I feel like I could just do pinks and purples in here, right? So unfortunately, I apologize that most of my pigment sticks do not have the paint colors on them. However, I could definitely go through the color chart with you at another time if you want to email me or go. Could you do me a favor and give me an apron? Yep. Okay. So like this was kind of an example, this color pink, this is an example of a pink that I don't like. However, oh, I like that one over there. Okay. However, all of the R&F paints for me have a lot of what I call blendability, meaning that they're very easy to mix with other colors. Okay, so like never a bad color never a bad color, even like one that's not my favorite. So I use the wax paper, and I also recommend that you guys buy this thing, and it looks like terrible. Yeah, you're like, what the hell is it? This is actually an R&F pigment stick extender. So it's made to extend or loosen the pigment stick. So what happens is okay, you can watch like the videos on R&F about how to store them. They recommend keeping them in plastic, but I just can't. Too busy. I'm too busy. No, too busy to care for everybody's every need. No. So I just throw them in here. But these are some of my favorite colors. This is red brown. This is red brown. This is pigment stick extender. So what happens when you use extenders is you can put it right on the paper like this. Now these sticks are so versatile, and they do just so many things. So you can add them to encaustic paint. This is there. You can add them to your encaustic paint. You can paint on your encaustic paint. You can paint on your wax medium. Okay. So there's a lot you can do with them. These are both probably titanium white, which is what I use as my brightest white, right? So I always recommend that you have a bright white. I like to use this neutral white because look, it is the exact same color as this, like the white in this paper, okay? So what's kind of cool is that because these guys are such a match, if I use this to mix with any of my paint, it's going to be instantly harmonious, right, with this image. And it's just going to like work so well. And then what happens is like, if you guys even look at this, when you look at this piece next to this bright white, you can see that this is like a lot brighter, right? It's almost like I like opened it up in exposure and like brightened it. Can you do me a favor and move that light back about 2 feet because it's blowing out my whites? Sure. I'm gonna try to move my light source back because it was not so bright, you guys. Because do you see that? Do you see how bright? Is that better? Can you see the white better? Is it not as blown out?
Yeah, that is better.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you. I know it's because bright light on white just blows it out. So look, here's this neutral white, and you can look when you compare it to bright white, you can really see it looks brown. But when you compare it to like this, it looks like the value of the whites in the picture. Does that make sense? So if I use this, I know I'm going to get a pop. So like, where do I want to pop, right? I know I want to pop up here, right? So I can put some white in here. I know I want to pop in here in the center, right? So I'm just, again, exactly what I did yesterday with the encaustic gesso. I'm going for like my highlight areas, right? So the first thing I always do is kind of like brighten my highlights because I don't know, I just feel like that's a good place to start, right? So I go for all of the sort of white areas and I add white to them, right? So I go around, and I'm doing this with my finger. You don't have to do this with your finger. You can absolutely do this with a brush. You just need a brush with a little bit of guts to it. So a little bit of a stiff one. So like this one is stiff, right? So you don't want to try to add pigment sticks with like a floppy brush. Okay, because this ain't gonna do it, right? Because it ain't gonna do it. It's gonna make a mess. So you want a nice stiff, and I'm so used to painting with rectangles because I paint with the Hake brushes all the time, right? So I'm not really as accustomed to painting with round brushes, right? So and they're also just like too flimsy for me. So you can take this brush and then you could actually just kind of blend nicely this pigment stick like into the wax, right? You can also apply the pigment stick into the painting with the brush, right? So you could go into the paint here with the brush, right? And then onto the piece. Okay, now these sort of definitions of painted versus photo are really up to you, right? If I leave the pigment stick on here thick, that's like opaque, right? It means like I can't really see the photo anymore. And that's not really, I mean, maybe I want a little bit of that, but I think I've also mentioned to you guys yesterday, like I'm not a trained painter. Like I could handle myself and probably make a fairly decent abstract composition without a photo, but like that's just not what I've been doing for the last, I have to do the math, 35 years, right? Okay. But did you see how like that's just not what I'm doing? I'm working hard on these photos. I didn't really come into this to just like ditch the photo at the altar type thing, like I am really trying to create this marriage between these two surfaces. So after I put the white in, I went to a mid-tone, right? My mid-tone is this neutral, like creamy color. And I'm not trying to use a ton of colors, you guys. I basically have 3 things here. Okay. 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm totally happy just painting with these 3 things and really just focusing on getting these guys to work well together. And then look what fun it is when I start to go from like this mid-tone into this, to this, this is called red brown, right? It's my favorite red. It's really beautiful. And if it's not called red brown, I'm a liar, and it's called Turkish red, but I think it's red brown. But look at this pink. Like this pink to me is like, I want to die and go to heaven. Like I can't even, I don't know the exemplary ecstatic words that are big enough to kind of describe how much I love mixing with these what do they call them, off colors, these middle colors like cream or beige or light yellow, okay, are my favorite mixing colors. Okay, so now I've made these lovely pinks, and then I can kind of add them lightly into the mix. Okay, so I'm just kind of thinking about like adding, oh my God. And then when I want to go dark, right, when I see a shadow, I'm going to go to this pure color, right? Did you see that? So now I'm like literally, and I'm following the photo, right? So somebody once made this like kind of, I thought it was sort of like cocky remark, and they said, oh, you mean you're painting by numbers? And I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, that's exactly what I'm doing. Thank you very much. I'm painting by numbers. But guess what? Like I arranged the numbers, I picked the numbers, I printed the numbers. I want the, like, I'm like, all right, that's fine. I don't care. So do it. So just paint by numbers, right? But what you're also doing is you're learning, right? You're learning about lights and darks. You're learning about the nature of the flower. You're learning how to mix color, right? And you're really like making something like, I don't care how you made it. It's beautiful, right? And just these like sort of tones. Now, if I wanted to go a little bit darker than this color, I would go not for black, but I would go for a very dark blue, or I would go for like a Payne's gray, okay, or a very dark brown. And one of the reasons that I might go for a dark brown is that it'll just keep me closer to my original photo than going blue, right, or purple or gray. Because if the photo was a cold tone photo, for some reason, I feel like if it was a cold tone photo, you would have more success going with one of those colder colors. But because it's a warm tone photo, let's stay with the warm tones, right? Like, why not? Just keep it warm. So here is a beautiful, beautiful dark brown. And honestly, like this color palette right here just like really floats my boat. So this is like dark brown, like red brown or turkey red. We're going to leave that undefined. Neutral white, right? Which is like cafe au lait, and a bright white. Okay. So here I go. And I'm just going to leave the paint that I have on my brush right here, and I can just mix some brown. So the cool thing for like learning from me or using me as a teacher is that I do this exact thing that I do right here when I work on the hot plate with encaustics, okay? So it's kind of like if you can do this here, in my mind, there's no difference than doing it on the hot plate, okay? And here, the thing that's making these paints more translucent is this medium, right? This extender, okay? And the thing that's making the encaustic paint more translucent on the palette is the wax medium, okay? So it's like similar, but this to me is like walking through the park, and for some reason encaustic is like running through the park because it's just more intense. It's like a little bit, it's faster. It's like it happens faster. You know, everything is just kind of like coming at you more quickly, and you have to make more rapid decisions. Okay, so here I am using the brown to go around the outside edges of these flowers. And I'm using my finger again. If you don't want to be using your finger, you can definitely be using a brush, right? And it's kind of just like thinking about, you know, emphasizing these shadow areas, right? And notice too, like I don't really want to paint the whole thing. Like in a way, for me, like having naked wax, I think is like beautiful, right? It's like kind of when we see someone naked, we're like, oh my God, that's beautiful. You're like, let me think about that. That's like, we don't see that every day, right? So it's nice for me too. It creates a little bit of a contrast and also gives me depth. So at this point in the painting, I would say it pretty much looks like SHIT, and yet I have a lot of hope for it, right? So I think when I kind of gave myself freedom to mix and add, right? And I did some shadowing, but so now I need to do, now I need to do some blending, right? So sometimes I just kind of put these colors. So I use a paper towel for blending. You can use a paper towel. You could also use, and did anybody see kind of like is this too far away from you? But anybody see like what I did right here? Actually right here, I kind of like used whatever happened with my waxing and just was like, oh, it kind of gave me like a flower form. So I know that if I have like things going out and a center, that's like floral enough for me. So sometimes even if the wax accidentally makes a flower, or I sort of make a drippy thing that looks like a flower, I'll kind of just go with it, because then I feel like I have like flowers on top of flowers, and they're just like suggestive. They're not literal, but they're just kind of like floating there. And they're playing along in my theme. So I'm like, all right, you guys can play, right? Play with me. So two, I can shade my browns, right? Also notice if I have texture, remember how I was using that little bristle brush for texture yesterday? If I have texture, I want to kind of use a little bit of extender, and I want to use a little bit of pressure, because what I want to get out of the texture is I want the pigment stick to go in. I don't want it just to sit on. So I have to be a little bit more forceful. I have to be a little bit more forceful and kind of push, right? Kind of like push that in. And then what happens is I can use a blending tool, and I just basically wiping off the surface, but I know that I kind of almost impregnated that pigment stick into that wax texture. So that's like, why is the light so bad? How can you guys see it better? Wait. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong, wait, I'm gonna switch cameras for a second, because I feel like this other camera will give you a better lighting. Oh, that actually looks good. Is that better lighting on it? Wait. Oh, that's better lighting on it. So do you see how the pigment stick is like really like in there? And that is really, really a nice effect that I like a lot, because what it suggests to me is that there's some type of light coming from behind, right? And that so it's like the light is like, and that seems very organic to me. Also, like this painting is very like kind of harsh at this point, but once I blend it, it's going to look more realistic, because it's opaque right now, so it's blocking the photo. So now I need the paint to go back so that the paint and the photo are kind of like more aligned. So let me switch cameras, and this sort of back and forth is just something that is basically how I get there, right? It's kind of like how I get where I want to be. All right, so again, like I could clean my brush, right? This paintbrush, I could clean my brush by just wiping. I don't need to use turpentine. You can't use water, right? So you can't use water to mix these paints. So you have to either use extender or turpentine, right? And then clean the brush with soap and water. But if you add turpentine to the mix, it might get just like too liquidy. So I would just stick to using the extender. So I could put a little extender on here, and then I'm just going to start to go. I usually go in like a circular motion, right? A circular motion. So you can think of like shining a shoe, right? Or polishing the silver. Like if your grandma ever made you polish the silver, which my grandma did a lot, right? And you can kind of go outside edges of these flowers, wherever you see like shading, or you just sort of like it, right? And you have to kind of like trust yourself. I also then might switch to my finger, right? And if I feel like it's not blending enough, or I need to remove it, I use the paper towel. So I stick my finger in the paper towel. Now you could also use a Q-tip, but I wouldn't use the Q-tip directly onto your piece. I would maybe use a Q-tip in the paper towel. I think that the Q-tips are too, I'm going to use the word flossy, but that's not actually the word I want. They're too thready, like they're going to come apart, right? Then you're going to have Q-tip in your art, right? So now what I'm thinking about is integrating this paint into the wax so that it doesn't look just like it's sitting there. It looks like it was born to be there, right? And I'm hand coloring this photo, right? A couple of things that you guys can do as exercises too, to kind of get your brain thinking about this process, is you can get watercolor paints and take your flower photos and paint them with watercolors. You can also paint your flowers literally with like colored pencils, Caran d'Ache, right? You can paint the photos. And like, if you have a photo that you like now I know I love this photo, and me and this photo are going to go far this year, right? I'm going to paint it, collage it, and work with it as much as I can, right? It becomes sort of like my favorite, pony in the barn, and I'm going to ride it as many times as I can and try as many different like ways of doing it, right? So I'm just blending with the paper towel. And what I'm looking for this sort of beauty of photo and painting, right? So that it doesn't look like one is more than the other and that they're working together. Okay, so they're kind of creating more of a happy union than just like, you know, two separate things existing in the same space. Okay, so I'm kind of liking it. It's getting there. So sometimes it might feel, and I kind of like getting that feeling myself. It's like, you know, why bother putting it on, wiping it off, putting it on, wiping it off? But I just think that that's sort of like the look, is that we don't just want it to look like we painted over it. We want them to work together, right? So I don't know if you guys just saw that, but that really helped me. Like right here along this edge, I just used my rule, my contrast rule, and I just took dark right up to the white, and I just made that flower work, right? Then I know that I need it to have a dark center, so I can take that brown and I can go right in here, right? So now this flat flower that was kind of like all these midtones now has a shape, an outside edge to this petal, and it has an inside. Okay. So I sort of feel like I've successfully done one flower. Now, when I get one flower done, I'm like, okay, pressure's on. Now I got to get some other flowers to work. All right. So this dark flower is still not working for me. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to try more red all over this dark flower, right? And I'm going to try to fill in the form. So here's a petal, right? Here's the back of the flower, right? I'm really going to try to get this nice rounded shape. Here's another petal over here. And then the other side, right, is darker. So now I'm going to take the red and I'm going to take my darker tone. I'm going to mix those two together and I'm going to make another color, right? Using this one and this one, I'm going to make another color. I'm going to use my extender, and this has to go around, right? It has to be, this has to be the dark side of the flower over here. Okay, so what I just noticed when I did that was that these two shades are too close together. Like they don't really look that different. So that means that I'm going to have to add a lighter color, right? And I don't have to go with bright white. I can go with halfway between this red and this white. And if it's still too bright, I could soften it and tone it with a little bit of that neutral color, right? So again, I'm trying to use all four of these colors together with each other with the extender. So, all right. And then look, I'm going to try to brighten this color, this paint up, right? And so that's working. It's making it a little bit brighter, but it's very opaque, right? Meaning that I can't see any of my information from my photo, right? Because now I've put on so much paint that the photo is gone. Okay, so, but I do like the color. Color is working. I feel like it looks like it's toning a little bit. I definitely now see a difference between the light and the dark. But it's too strong, right? So what do I need to do? And I could use a different brush. I need to what? Reduce it, right? And blend it. Because I need it to be somewhat translucent, right? So the blending is where I get the translucency, and in the translucency, I get back to the photo, right? And I'm not trying to totally get rid of the photo. I'm trying to hand paint and tone the photo, right? So I'm just trying to give these flowers. It's almost like the photo kind of like froze them, and then like the paint and the wax is trying to sort of like bring them back to life, right? So I'm not trying to override them, right? So I'm removing, I'm blending, right? And I'm pretty happy with that. I can see this line here, right? And I think I think the mistake that I was making was that I was trying to make this petal too hard of a like sort of a straightish line. And every time I try to make a flower like a straightish line, I just realized that they're not like that, that they're really sort of loosey-goosey. They're totally like organic. They have so much like flow to them that there just isn't like, just make a broken line, right? Like don't try to stiffen something that's not stiff, right? Like let it be what it wants to be. Flowers are totally imperfect. Everyone is different from each other, right? Okay, so I'm going to take that back a little bit. And again, I'm really relying on sort of the underpainting that I did too, to kind of help me see these lines. And I think that that looks pretty darn good for that flower. Now, what's also working here is that this flower is a color, and this one is brighter, right? And if I want to make this one even brighter, I can pop just a tiny little bit of that bright white in here, and that suggests like a highlight. You don't want to do too much though, right? Okay. Any questions so far on that? Yeah, this is really looking pretty from here. I hope you guys can see how beautiful it is. It looks, I mean, it's just, I'm getting a lot of glare in the studio, but. All right, any questions? You guys doing okay? You having fun? You guys are so quiet. You have to talk to me more. I get lonely over here by myself. Tara and I want to hear more from you. Any questions about the palette? Did everybody see?
I think it's so interesting how you just leave the texture of the wax. I've seen so many other artists like fuse a lot and not leave it. And it looks so much more organic with the texture than it does without it. You're right. You're getting a very almost like weathered old picture.
Right.
And I like the results.
Right. So I mean, you have to remember, like my early work though was like super smoothie, like super smooth, like, right. So I think it comes from me. I feel like it's come a little bit just with like experience and trust in the medium. And I think I might have mentioned this like yesterday when we started out about like, because I hear people express their frustration with encaustic, and then I often like want to like say like, well, are you sure you're using the right medium? Like, are you sure that wax is what you want, right? And I get wanting it super smooth, like, and we can totally talk about that today.
No, please don't.
Oh, please don't. Oh, I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, I just want you.
Kidding.
I mean, I just think that smooth. I mean, it's kind of, you know, like, I don't know. It's like smooth is a certain look. I find it very contemporary smooth, and I find it sort of limited and sort of not the true nature of not the true nature of the wax, right? Like it's something it can do, but like it's not really like all it can do. Does that make sense?
I like the texture personally. I like that.
And honestly, like for me, this texture, like it's relative. Like it's still pretty, what I would call like flat. It's not really like I mean, it's tasteful. It's let's just say it's tasteful. I also think it's sort of romantic, right? And that it has, and I really love rubbing the wax in to sort of show, you know, the sort of skinnish qualities of it. And but let me just tell you that this formula for mixing color and painting like this is so, I mean, it's just so relaxing and fun. It's like, you know, I wouldn't, you know, don't put too many colors on your wax paper, right? Like don't just use three colors, right? And really push yourself to see like how many colors can you make with 3 colors, right? And you really can kind of achieve this pop, like that pop, right? With these 3 colors. And it's pretty, like it's definitely pretty. Also, like for as far as I'm concerned with flowers, like this amount of texture is like it's floral, like it is like nature. It is literally like a personification of what we see and love about, you know, a beautiful garden, right? Or a little patch of flowers, or, you know, a vine bush that's growing, you know, on our neighbor's, you know, fence, right? It's like sort of has that just flow and imperfection, let's say imperfection, right? Like I love this top knotty little top part. Now there is another color I'm sort of thinking about right now about adding. Does anybody know what that might be?
Blue.
No, I wasn't thinking about blue. I'm scared of blue. Blue is so I mean, blue is so bossy. Like if it's blue, it's like so blue. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. Blue and I don't know.
Yellow?
Yeah, I was thinking about yellow, but I was actually thinking, you know what color I really like is chartreuse.
Oh,
Because it actually, especially in the Pigment Sticks, it's so versatile. Hold on, I just want to. So did you see how I just did like? Did you see how I just did like this tiny little like fingerprinty thing here? Like now, I have to say, I'm gonna try this year to make some like really big floral work, and the problem for me with scale is because I do use my finger as a tool. I don't have a big finger. I mean, I'm gonna have to like adapt. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like I'm going to have to figure out a way to like modify scale from like what I know I can do with like a brush or my finger to something bigger, right? And I often think that like just this like dabbing, right, with the paint is so floral like. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even like just taking a brush, like this flower actually has petals. Like even just taking the brush and like, drawing the space between the petals, right? And then of course when you first paint it, I'm like, oh, it just looks terrible, right? It's like so heavy and it's like insensitive and oh my God, it's like bad. But once you take the paper towel and you can dab, right, by just hitting it and actually turning it, or you can just move it slightly, right? So the wax sort of acts as like just a beautiful surface to paint on. And then when you use the pigment sticks and maybe a little bit of an extender, you can kind of just get that feeling, get it to act like exactly as you want. Now you could do something a little bit more heavy-handed, and you can always paint like right off the stick and blend back. And I think I'll demonstrate that in a minute too. But I also really want to make sure we do encaustic painting today. So I think I'm gonna quit on this one. And I'm also really, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm not trying to literally paint anything. Do you know what I mean? Like in a funny way, if you can visualize this, like if I just like, what if I was painting on like an in between, like a screen, and what if I lifted the painting up? Do you think that the painting that I'm doing would actually look like these flowers? I mean, maybe a little bit, but I'm really working with the photo. Does that make sense?
Yes, you're using it as it's your foundation.
Right. I'm not really right. I'm not over painting these flowers. And then what you can do too is when you're kind of done your painting, you really, you need to like kind of, I always think like whatever I thought looked good, I need to take it back at least a cup, like at least, you know what I mean? I think that my tendency is to overpaint. So I'm going to be like, yep, just go ahead and take it back, because I already know that I love this photo. I already know that I loved it with just the wax, right? So when I go and add this paint layer, like stop it with your big self. Like you're not that great. Like just, go back, go back to sort of that negotiation point where you're like, yeah, I need you, you need me, like let's do this together, right? I'm not trying to override you. I'm not trying to like forget that you're there. I'm just trying to make you, like have a little like bling, right? Have a little lush, like it's like lush, right? It's like you're having a little lusciousness. Now, okay. And again, like I overpainted this flower in the corner. It was kind of like better before I added all of that. So here I am taking away. Also, this flower, like at the bottom, I don't know, this flower at the bottom isn't really, oh, wait, which camera? I'm switching cameras, sorry. This flower here at the bottom isn't really like, we don't even, now this flower, like I'm going to say A+, right? I'm grading myself. Okay. This, I don't really know what this is, right? But do I need to know? I mean, then you're kind of like, then you just, do I like it or don't I like it? And honestly, like right now, like I like everything except this flower. Okay.
Me
You
too.
guys agree? I love everything except this. So
Yeah,
what
it's
do
a
I,
little overpowering.
it's just like, it's like nothing. It's like, what is it? An octopus? What is it? A stingray? Like, what the heck? It's terrible. Okay. So I have to do something about this because I like, this is like rocks. Like, I'm sorry, A plus. Like I rock like that. Like, and then look, it's so much better when I just put my hand over it like that. It's so much better. So I can do one of two things. I could just make it like darker, which might be a good idea. And look, when I put my hand over it and the rest, like this is gorgeous, right? This is so, or I could make it lighter, but I think I have to make it darker because
I'd
dark
put
will go
red.
back.
I like the red. Put
Right,
the
dark,
red over
right.
it.
Red over it?
I mean, it would balance it out a little bit.
Would. I definitely think it has to go darker. So I'm going to make a reddy brown and we're just going to go over it. I think it's going to look better even if I just take it, the brightness off of it. So
Yeah.
listen, that was super good, you guys. That was like good for us. Like good for us on editing the painting, first of all, right? And good for us on like letting go of something we worked on, not being like, oh my God, I worked hard on that flower. I have to keep it. Like, no, it's not the strongest thing there. And it's like hurting the other flowers, you know? It's technically like hurting the rest of the composition. So, and then we had to make a decision, right? A very definite decision. Does it go lighter or darker, right? But like, look at that and do this stuff gradually, right? But like, look how much better, right? Now, I'm not sure it's done yet, but it's so much better than when it was bright white, okay? And it can go in steps, right? Now, honestly, like I could say too, like I've worked on this and looked at this for a while. Maybe I've had, maybe I had it for today, right? And maybe I'm, feeling like my feelings are like, I don't know. But I definitely feel like it's better. And I was only really trying to like add color on the wax. Like I was sort of letting the wax tell me where to go. And I think like maybe me and this piece need a break, like I did it. I did well. I was on it. I was so into it. I was like loving it. And now I'm not 100%, can't make a decision. So maybe I'm going to set this piece aside and give it a rest. Okay. So that's always a possibility too. But I do feel like there is like another flower emerging here that I'm going to be able to make up, just from this sort of like circular structure with a semicircle with two. That's enough of a floral thing for me. And I think I'm gonna stop here. Okay. So to be continued on that.
Everybody a 5-minute break.
Give everybody a 5-minute break. Oh no, it's okay. They can watch me. I'm gonna switch gears.
Well, your wax isn't turning on, like overloaded.
Oh, you blew a fuse.
I don't know how nothing got changed, but it keeps turning off, and I turn it on, and then
That's because they're doing stuff next door. So unplug this palette. Are you guys? I'm gonna take 5 because I got technical issues. I'll be right back. And I'm gonna clean up the pigment sticks, and we're gonna do some encaustic painting. But here, if you guys want to look at this, here, I'll leave this here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. I'm gonna switch. Hold on. I'm gonna switch screens. All right, so here you go. You can enjoy this. Hopefully it's not too glary. All right.
All right, it's on at the moment.
Did you unplug the other palette?
Yeah, I unplugged that palette. I don't know what this goes to. I think it's just my laptop. I was gonna say, I kept hearing your laptop go on and off, on and off. So it's just this and this right now. But I don't think you're working right now. If that makes sense, if they're pulling the same, that's what's throwing it. I'm like looking at your wax getting
I don't think I need my lap.
darker and darker. I'm like, no.
Can you move these forward? Not all of these plugs work. Okay. These plugs are broken. Yeah, that one works. All right, so this one's out.
I just didn't want you to be like, okay, let's put wax on here, and your wax is hard.
Yeah, that would not be good. Are you gonna pee? Your wax is on. You should pee. Yeah. All right. All right, so you guys have a choice. My hot plate is back and my wax just needs to melt for a second. Do you guys want me to do another? I can do another I can do another pigment stick painting of the other paper piece. Do you want me to do that while we're waiting for and then we'll do the encaustics. How's that?
That works.
Okay, good. Okay, so
Is
that
that-
worked for me. So
Oh.
let's do a different color palette. Okay, so we did. Go ahead. What was your question?
I wondered if that was going to be the one you might scrape back a little bit on.
Oh, that's a wood piece, and
Okay.
yeah, but I could do that next. I mean, that doesn't matter to me. So I'm pretty. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with this one for now. I'm definitely really happy with this. Like, still like half of it. So, yeah. And this is very textured. You're absolutely right. Talk about like this is actually very textured. So, but I really love it. I mean, that's what I think is really beautiful, especially like up in here
Yeah.
where the pigment stick goes into that texture. And remember, that was only one coat of wax, you guys. I only waxed this one time, one and done, right? So let's just review the layers, right? Wood, print, a little bit of drawing, right? A little bit of standard sandpaper, wax medium, pigment stick. Hello. Beauty,
Yes.
beauty, beauty, right? And how many colors? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the colors I was thinking about adding is a little bit of a green,
Mm.
right? But I don't know. I don't know. I'm afraid to do it right now. I kind of just like it is for now. I don't know where exactly I'd add the green. And it might make matters too complicated. Okay, so I decided at the end of the day, sort of yesterday, that I still think I can paint this one and make it into something. I just think that it's a little noisy, right? Like back to that idea of like throwing rocks in the water, right? So it's a little noisy. And I can definitely quiet it down by adding more layers. But I think I'm just gonna go ahead and work on this other one because I love it. And this is the same one we just worked on too in a smaller version. So, but let's do different colors and let's be a little bit more realistic to flowers, right? So flowers aren't necessarily pink and brown. So let's try for some green. Okay, definitely some green. So I'm just gonna clear my area and get some wax paper. Okay, so here's my blender stick. Here's this Chartreuse green that I love. Right, here's this Chartreuse green that I love. Okay, super pretty. I could use a little bit of yellow. I could use this like pale. Oh, look how pretty that is. Do you guys like the pale pink?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, and the Chartreuse green. And I could use a dark green. This is sap green. I could use a dark green. And I could either use, now this is more of a cold tone photo. And do you remember that? This is like a cold tone photo. So my flowers my flowers could be white and light pink, right? My leaves could be chartreuse green. I got some planning. I could do yellow, or I could do all right, any thoughts? Oh, look at this color. That's kind of pretty. And this is graphite gray. Oh, I could do gray, dark. I could do dark green gray. Who said that? Oh, Linda, didn't you say you liked light pink and gray?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so look, technically here's my graphite gray. Here's my extra pale scarlet, they call that. Okay, here's like this is a lot of colors though. So technically this yellow and this green is this color. Cadmium yellow, this one's called. And this is sap green. So that's a lot of colors. Let me see if I can do it with, how about I just do light pink, gray, and green? But I'm going to use two greens. Is that good?
When you're down in the spring, when you're in the spring and you have the red buds, we've got all the gray limestone here. That's the color you see.
Oh, that's so pretty. That's so pretty. So let's do it, right? Okay, so here I am. I'm going to do, so here's the pink, right? This is extra pale scarlet, I think. Yep, scarlet, extra pale. Okay, and then here's the graphite gray. So graphite gray, you guys, if you're doing any, I mean, this is my number one. I mean, this has been, this color, this paint stick has been number one in my studio for years, graphite gray. And the reason that I love it is that I was a film photographer, and this to me is film photography in a paint stick. Okay, so if I take any black and white and I take any wax medium or encaustic and I add graphite gray to it, it's a winner. Okay, winner, winner, winner. Okay, so this is that chartreuse, which I normally probably wouldn't go for this color, but lately I just love that. I love it because it just is like what leaves look like to me when they have like a lot of sunlight on them, right? And they're just like shining out and they're lit up, right? And this is my favorite green. So this is sap green. Okay, so I don't like any of the Viridian greens, but I like the sap green. Okay, here's my extender. And then I'm also going to give myself a white, right? Because if you're going to have a gray, right? If you're going to have a dark, you got to have a light. So here's my extender. And then I'm going to give myself a white. And I can put white in multiple places. I can put white next to the pink, right? I can put white over here with the green. And I'm not going to, I can put it over here. It's fine. So I put white in a couple places. Now I do feel like I'm going to need another strong color for the flowers, but I don't know what it is yet. And I don't want it to be red. So, because I don't know, but maybe it could be. Let's just see how we do with this. Okay, so it's a good place to start. All right. So of course I could use this brush again. So my paintbrushes or my finger. And I'm going to start with what I know because I painted this flower already. I'm going to start with what I know. And that is that this area is dark, right? So I'm just going to kind of start with my graphite gray and go into these dark areas, right? And I'm going to just kind of get to know it and define the shapes, right? So I could do this with a brush, right? So I'm just defining, I'm just kind of going into these spaces, right, around the flowers. Right? And I'm just gonna kind of have fun. Now this, remember, is this big, beautiful flower, and that's gonna need a color, and that color can't be pink. So that's what I was saying, like I have to pick another color for these dark flowers, but I don't know what I want it to be yet, right? So I'm just kind of like dabbing. Here's like the center. Also, like when I'm looking at this, I only have one layer of wax on here, and I can tell that my drawing is really like distracting me right now. Like maybe my drawing was like a little bit too heavy But I don't know. And then if you notice too, in the other one, I started out with my lights, but in this one, I'm starting out with my darks. So I guess I'm maybe just a little intimidated about my color palette here. For some reason, I want this one to be like peachy pink. So I might go for like a light for orange. Is anybody feeling like orange and green?
Oh, orange and green is always good.
I'm kind of feeling the orange, right? And with that light pink, the orange could maybe be good so that the flowers could either be white with a little bit of pink on them, right? Or kind of orangey. All right. So I put some graphite gray on there. Then I'm going to start blending, right? So I kind of do like do a color, blend a color, right? Do a color, blend a color. So if you want to write that down as a nice little rhythm, right? I think I painted in the last piece, I painted a little bit longer, right? But I also started with the highlights in the other piece. So, and sometimes too, if you feel like you want to just, right, use the paper towel to paint a little bit, it's kind of a nice texture, right? And you're like rubbing it into the wax, and you can just spread it a little bit faster, right? So, and then there's a part of me always that's like, oh, wait, I'm done. Wait, that's so beautiful. Wait, it's done. It's beautiful, right? So, I mean, maybe once you get the gray on there, you're like, yep, that's it. No. All right, so I'm gonna go for my lights now. And I feel like this white is too bright white. So I want to tone it down. Let me see. Oh, I kind of like this color. Do you guys see how? Oh, wait, you guys can't see that. Shoot. Sorry, here. Is that better? I need to go up a little bit. Hold on. Is that better? I want you guys to see my palette. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Is it too bright? Can you see it, or is the light too bright? Because we have sun here today. It's actually sunny here.
It looks good here.
Oh, I'm gonna do it like this. How's that? And wait. So I'm thinking more and more as I look at this and I look at this that I need another color, right? So I'm gonna look. I don't want red. I don't want red. I don't want red. I didn't want red. Now this is interesting because I guess I could make an orange. Oh, I might have to make an orange. Oh, okay. Well, that is good thinking. Thank God I'm art educator. I remember my color wheel. Let me just check. I have 2 boxes of paint here. Oh, I do have an orange. It has to be the right color. And a lot of times I feel like you should definitely make your own color. All right, so I have an orange. Let's look at this. So this could be my orange. Oh yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah, you like it? I think, look at that. Now look how that helped my palette so much, right? Now I know that I don't like it straight out of the tube like that, but guess what? I'm gonna bring my friend over here. Okay? Like I don't like my coffee without cream, so same thing. Now let's see. Okay, so that's making it a little, that's pretty, but yeah, that's pretty. Okay, and then maybe a little bit of bright white. And that, oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You guys like that? Oh yeah, look. Okay, so
I like the dark.
I like it better toned.
Oh, me too, right? So you definitely have to buy this guy, right? Yep, I know.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? And you know what? This to me is like the color of the wax on the black and white photos. So it's just like, it's almost just like, it's perfect. Because yeah, like just this color I could never, now this I might use as like a tiny bit to just kind of give it that pop. But like this is what I want right here. This is where I want to be right here, right? And then a little bit of white. Now I also could add, what happens if I add a little bit of pink to that? Yeah. Oh my God, joy, right? Joy, 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 joy. Oh my God, beautiful. Okay, so now I'm so happy. And look, you guys are seeing the colors really well on the screen. I'm so happy about that too. All right, so let's go for the light colors first, just for fun. So I'm gonna go, like this guy could be like pinky, right? This flower right here. And I can use my brush too. Let's see, I think I have another. So these like rectangular brushes can come in all different sizes, right? The rectangular ones, right? And again, so I'm not gonna worry, I don't worry too much about,
Oh yeah.
I don't worry too much at first. I just kind of like put the paint on, right? And then, so, and I kind of just like enjoy the process of like, you know, coloring. I'm just gonna own it. Color by numbers, right? So I'm just gonna color, color by numbers. I don't care, I love it. It makes me very happy. I love what I do, right?
Well, painters build up surfaces of colors to find the lights and the darks. So that's basically what you're doing.
Right, and also, thank you for that, Melissa. And also, you know, painters start with sketches, right? And they do a lot of sketching, right? They do a lot of like figure studies or still life sketches, and then they, you know, pick their best sketch and go forward onto a canvas and make a painting. So we're doing the same thing. And when I take an image and make it black and white, I always say that it's like my sketch, right?
Mhm.
And then I go and I like use those lines and shapes and lights and darks to paint, right? Also notice I'm using like sort of various techniques of applying the paint, right? I'm using a little bit of the brushing, a little bit of finger, right? So I have the brush. I also have a little bit of the extender, right? And like, and I don't worry, like I just like to kind of get the paint on there, and I don't worry too much at first about really like what it looks like. I'm just kind of, okay, so I know I have a flower here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add some of the greens too. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep painting. And like when you go to like blend, it's kind of fun because you can think like, oh, if you like the way something looks like super painterly, you could always leave it. Like you don't have to blend, right? So blending, like if you, you know, at any point you just love the brush strokes, you know, it'll just dry on there. It will just, oh, hold on. And also like when things are blurry, like I like to paint kind of blurry. Like this flower over here is kind of blurry. So I could be kind of blurry. And this is kind of neat. This whole action over here, I can like, right? This is like a sanding that I did. So I actually made an extra flower. All right, so what I'm gonna do with the green, oh wait, I got this guy. All right, so I have to go darker, right? This guy's my dark flower. So I'm gonna take the orange and I'm gonna add the what to it? I'm gonna add the gray. Yeah, I'm
Ooh.
gonna take the orange and I'm gonna add the gray, right? And I'm gonna do this guy. Oh, that looks so good. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. And I know, right? Because I've already painted this flower one time, you guys. This is proof in the pudding, right? That because I know this picture, I know where this flower is and I know what works on it, right? So I know that this line works if I do it right, right? And this is where I have confidence and experience, right? And it makes it like a little bit more fun for me because I'm not like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Does it look okay? Okay. All right, so I have another one of these little flowers over here. So I can do the same thing. And I can switch the tone up a little bit. I can take the orange. It needs a little extender. If your paint's still dry, add a little bit of the extender stick. If I could only find it. The heck? Where is it? I always wonder, I'm like, where do you go? Well, wait.
Is
Not it?
that it right there?
There's some here right here. Oh, this is it? Oh, yeah. Thank you. So let me see. I'm just gonna, so the extender stick, you guys, makes these paints more translucent, right? So it makes them thinner. And I don't know if you can see that, but like I can totally, I put that orangey gray all over this flower, but I can totally see through it, right? So that's kind of cool. That is definitely a way to paint, right? It could be kind of nice. So you could have some areas that were more opaque with the paint, and then some areas that have more extended and more translucent, right? So that is nice to be able to kind of switch through the gears. All right, so I'm gonna stop with that, and I'm gonna get a skinny brush, and I'm gonna do some green. Okay, so I'm gonna do green in the stemmy things, and then I'm gonna blend. So for stemmy stuff, you kind of want a stiffy. So I'm gonna choose this guy. I hope you can do it. So he's pretty small. He's kind of pointy and he's dirty. And now, okay. All right. So I'm gonna go. I don't know if this is gonna work. He might not be my man. I don't know. So I'm thinking about like, no, this isn't it. I'm thinking about this. I'm not gonna do that with that. That's not gonna work for me. So I'm gonna do the side. He is not working out. I am not keeping him. I want to do some fine line stuff, right? Because this is sort of like one of the things I love about this photo is all of these lovely like drapey, right? And I made a bunch of nice greens here. Right, and I got this one. So I don't feel like you have to do them all, you know, but you could pick the ones that you like, right? There's some here, there's one there, there's one here. You can also sort of make them up, right? There's some, and sometimes like you could, you know, even if there isn't a leaf, you know, there could be, right? There could be, right? If there's an ambiguous area or a gray area, it could always have a leaf, right? If you want to add, right? And it just looks pretty.
It is pretty. That looks really pretty.
Oh, thank you. You guys are so nice. You guys are so nice. All right, so let's see. And remember to switch your tones of your greens, right? So I can like mix these greens together, right? And even add a little orange to the green, right? And little brush strokies. And you remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but when I did this piece with yesterday, remember how I said that there was like a little bit of green, yeah, green, like my brush was kind of slightly greeny, dirty. So it's kind of nice that we're, right? There could be a little green. All right. So now it's time to, I'm going to do one more thing. So I want to make this top. I want to get the light, like that sense of the floodlight coming from the top. So if I want to make more, you know, kind of, I want to add more, just more paint. I really want this to be kind of thick with this light coming from the top. So I just added a lot of pigment stick up there. All right. And there's also kind of these interesting, like sort of sheety things. I don't know, whatever they are down here. All right. So I just kind of got a little like painterly. I can kind of just put a little. All right. So I'm ready. I feel like I have enough paint on here. So now I don't want to leave it like this. So I'm going to start blending it.
Can I get a picture of that real quick?
See the before and after. So it's like, it kind of looks like a hot, like again, like a hot SHIT hot mess, right?
Can you hold it up?
But it's gonna look good in a second. Here, I can switch it. So let's just make sure you guys.
Oh, yeah. I think when you put that gray with that color, it just,
So, and then I went kind of heavy on the top, right? I love that one orange translucent flower, but now I need to kind of like push and pull everything around and blend it. So hopefully the magic's gonna happen. So let's cross our fingers. I'm gonna switch you guys back to the other screen. And you guys can watch me blend. So this is all gonna be done with a clean brush, right? And I'm actually just gonna like get rid of my palette. Now this process, sometimes between like blending and painting can go back and forth a couple times. And again, there's no like time restriction on it. So like if you're feeling, you know, kind of like I did, like if you get like 3 things really good and one area is not working out so great, you know, maybe just give it a rest, like I said, and then you can come pick right back up with painting with pigment sticks, or removing a little on the surface. If you go back in a couple days and it's not lifting or moving around for you, put a little extender on a rag and rub that in, right? Or you could always, because the pigment stick, the color is sitting on top, you can always just sort of like scrape that top off a little bit, right? If it's not coming, if you want to get rid of something. All right. So I'm going to start at the bottom just because I'm kind of nervous. So I'm just going to start at the bottom, and I'm thinking about just like pushing the paint in. I'm remembering sort of like the photo where it's light and dark, right? So I'm kind of like creating texture and blending. I want to get back, right? So right now I'm looking to kind of meet my photo halfway, right? So I don't want it to be as obviously painted as I have it right now. So I'm looking to go back and sort of meet my old friend, right, on the path here. And my old friend is the photo. And, you know, we know we're good friends because I've committed my love to this photo. It's like all this love relationship stuff, right? So I love you, come back to me. And I think this blending, right? So it's kind of this art of blending these 2 layers together, right? So it kind of reminds me, if anybody's ever done any like double exposure work in Photoshop, it's kind of like you can kind of like pick 2 images and lay them over each other in Photoshop. And then when you go to the opacity lever, you slide it and it basically like lightens that top layer that's on top of the other layer of the original photo. And like, that's kind of exactly what I'm doing right now, is I'm just physically lightening this color paint layer that I put over the photo, right? And I want it to go and blend, want them to blend together. So I want the underneath photo to be seen a little bit more and the color to be translucent, right? So that they're working well together. And then you'll see, like, in some areas I'll know for sure, like especially like the center of this flower, like I'll need to add more, go back in and paint it again, because I'll need to add a little bit more white in there. Okay, so I know this shape.
Leah, I don't know if something's happened with the
that was
camera, but I'm only just seeing your head.
That was my hat. That was terrible. Why didn't you guys tell me to move your head? Oh my God. Wait. Oh my God. How long was my head there? Did I lower my head the whole time I was doing that? That's terrible. Deb, you should smack that head. All right. So I think it's looking pretty good. I definitely think this flower is going to need some more work, but I'm liking these colors. You take the ball out of our mouth, you guys. And then when you're getting like where you have more paint, you can decide, you know, like I don't have to totally, like, I can leave it. I can leave some of the paint as thick as I want it, right? But it's amazing too, like how some of these under layers, like I hope you guys, I don't know, I feel like you guys can't really see this as well as you can, but there's some really pretty things happening in this piece. All right, so I feel like my flower, my center, my star here got a little bit on the muddy side. So I kind of need to figure out how to get it to pop again. But I like this kind of blurry. Let's take a minute. Everybody can look at it. I know what else can do too. So I need to develop these petals a little bit more. So I think I'm going to use this pink. I'm going to move away from the orange, and I'm going to use this pink as my sort of like, and then I'm going to use the brush and kind of like draw that center. Also, I can tell too that sometimes what happens is when I get a lot going on in the flowers, I can sort of sharpen them by the outside in, meaning that I can go back to my gray and give it definition by shading from the outside. Does that make sense? So here's my gray, and I can tell, so I can go, see how that is helping? So I'm going back to like dark as my like former, like my shaper, right? And it's helping me give more dimension to this flower. And I could do it like over here, right? So again, it's like I have this dance between these lights and darks in terms of like form. Sometimes I feel like I have a tendency to make my paintings get a little bit too dark. So I have to just be wary of that, because I know that the darkness works, you know, for definition, but then it also just makes, the more you add, the darker the piece gets, right? So you kind of have to like walk a little bit of a fine line with that. Okay. So any questions so far? Any comments? Hopefully you guys didn't, my hat moved out of the way. I'm so sorry.
That's really beautiful. If to display that when you're done, would you just mat and frame it then?
So two things. One, I like, for expense purposes, right? And sometimes energy, right? Like I talk about energy a lot. Like I like to work on paper to practice, right? So I feel like if I make a super successful piece that I want to not have glass on it, I feel like I can just mount it after the fact.
Oh, okay.
So that is definitely an option. And I don't think that that should be, you know, that people should be afraid of that or wary of that. I could also frame it. Oh my God, there's my head again. I can also frame it. You guys gotta tell me, say head. Okay. So I can also frame it, honey. So I can take it to a framer. I didn't leave an edge on it, so I can't mat it, but I could float frame it, which just means that they can tack you know, like double stick cloth tape on the back, and then lift the frame with like plastic lifter.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But it's expensive. Like that's expensive. So, but if I wanted to, I could just mat it, just the same as, I mean, mount it. So I could just take a panel or a piece of flat wood, right? Or the dye bond material, or another piece of wood, you know, hard substrate, and do my PVA glue or my book, you know, and lay it down there thick. And then just when it's dry, just gently press it, you know, maybe cover it a little with, you know, a piece of wax paper or something, and then just press it down. Maybe put you know, something on top of it to get it to weight it equally. You know, have you ever put like books on it or something? Yeah, and as long as you're not scraping it or, you know, hurting it, it should be good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of just add a little bit of green in some of these gray areas just to kind of like bring them to life. And I'm also
The green is very effective in this piece. It just the little touches of green. It's really very nice.
Thank you so much. So do you see, I'm going to add it a little bit up here too, because I just think like a solid white area is not interesting. And also I think about light bouncing around, and I used these like whitey colors in other parts of the painting. So it kind of makes sense, you know, that, and it gives it sort of a dreamy quality that there's like, you know, like when the, you know, my favorite part of the like the day in the summer is when I'm sitting in my backyard and the sun is going down. And if you look into the light, you see like all of these little like thing, like almost like spirit, like, you know, like sprites in the air, like whether they're like dust particles or like, I don't know what even it is, but it just like looks a lot like the, you know, just everything looks alive. Like I just love that sort of romantic sense, right? So look, I can put a little bit of the green in the bottom, you know, and then it just kind of makes it move around, right? You could also take like a little bit of the orange and also put that like as part of the like quality of the light, this kind of glowy quality, right? So, and these are sort of compositional things that just help the colors move around. I still think this center flower is not quite right, but I think I'm gonna leave again. Like sometimes you just you get tired. Like I don't know, you know, you strain to see. You add a lot. You know you're always like you're looking at part, but you're looking at the whole thing, right? So it's like exhausting. So I think I'm gonna take a break on this one, and we can come back to it. But I think it's decent. I think it's decent, and I think I hopefully you got some info from it, right?
It was great info.
Okay, good. And sometimes when I look at like a value, like any area that's like one color, I definitely like my colors to have multiple tones in them, right? So, but maybe that's sort of part of my problem here is maybe I need like a stronger, maybe I'm too toned up. Maybe sometimes I think I get too toned up, you know? So that can be a problem too. Like, or maybe I just have too much paint on here. So like, you know, then you can kind of go, oh, addition and subtraction, right? Which one should I do? Maybe I actually just need to take paint away from this. So then you just have to go back and forth with it until you're happy with it. You know, it's like it's your art, right? It's like, you know, you can take my techniques, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to make these big decisions on your own, right? Of how you like it. And you have to listen to what you like, right? So I actually like that with a little bit less color in it, but I have to look at it from far away. All right. And now, you know what? That's interesting because I'm going to switch your camera. That makes, in a weird way, that makes my star less of a star. And who's actually the star? Who's actually the star? This one's actually more of the star because it has way more color in it. But I do think that this photo is just really freaking good. And I'm doing a very mediocre job painting it.
Well, no.
But I love the top. I love the orangey green light in the top, you guys. Sorry, it's shiny.
I like it all.
Oh, you guys are sweet. All right. So I think that this photo is just really a rock star and it's just making me look good today. Oh, there's my key to the studio. All right. Yeah, I like it. I really like that red flap. I have to say, let me see if I can. All right, so wait, here's the two. Yeah, I mean.
That's a good idea.
Wow. Beautiful.
You guys are awesome. All right, so let's see what we can do with the big stuff, right? So we're gonna step it up a notch. This is like, right? So I treat my encaustic palette exactly like ooh, look, I have a white mustache. Okay, so I treat my encaustic palette the same way. And what happens with my encaustic work on panel when I use the encaustic paints is I do this, but then I also do the pigment sticks, right? So I'm gonna save this because I think this is a really, really killer palette. And I definitely like orange better than red in this situation. I mean, I could have added a tiny little bit of red as like literally like salt, like a, you know, like tiny bit of red somewhere. I also could have possibly added a tiny bit of yellow. Okay. But you have to think too about the scale. Like if you're working very small, I would say even less colors, right? And if you're working bigger, you can get away with adding a few more colors, right? But cautiously. Okay. And also, it's kind of like, think about it too, is like learning how to ride a bicycle. And like in the beginning, you use like training wheels, right? So using less color and getting really good at seeing how they work, how the mediums work together, right? If you get yourself all overwhelmed with trying to do too much, you're just going to feel frustrated and you're not going to want to do it. Okay. So you want to keep it like, you know, you want to keep your challenges low and your success rate high, right? And then when you've, you know, and then move on to and then raise the challenge, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Another example, like back to the writing, like one day I think I was just like not getting like what I was supposed to be doing, and my trainer made me just walk, and I was like really pissed. I was like, and she was like, well, you're not allowed to do anything until you can walk right. And I was like, well, how hard is walk? Like I'm like I'm walking, like we're walking. And she's like, but you're not walking correctly, you know? And I was like, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so let's learn how to walk before we learn how to run, right? Okay. So I'm gonna put this to the side, and I'm gonna switch cameras, but here I like pretty much have the same colors in encaustics that I just had in the paint. So let's look at like that similarity, right? So here I have paint colors, right? I'm definitely gonna take this one out because I'm scared of that. Okay. But I know this is my happy place, right? And notice I didn't add any green over here because I don't really give a rat's you know what. This is my happy place. I know I like these, right? I know.
Color in the middle, is that from your
This is my mud.
mud? Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's not pretty. But I like, look, here's that orangey color. Here's a nice lemony butter. This is iridescent. I mean, I can take or leave the sparkle. I don't need the sparkle, but if you like it, you can have it. But look, these colors, I know I can handle these guys, right? I know that I could also add, like this color might be good, right? And I tend not to paint with dark encaustics, but if I was gonna add a dark encaustic, I could add a green. I could add a green. I wouldn't add a black. So wait, we have to pick which one we're gonna paint. Oh, you guys wanted me to scrape this one back. There's that one. Oh, this one. All right, let's start with this one. That's a hot mess. That's a hot mess as far as I'm concerned. So, here's a couple more colors that I know that I like. Okay, this is definitely my happy place right here. Especially like this, like maybe not, this is my happy place. This is Leah.
Is there some purple in there?
Yeah, so this is like that. This is a wax snap. It comes from the, oh, this is a wax snap. Oh, here, I can lay them out here. It comes from the Laura Murphy. I think it was like the Irish collection, which of course, right? Go figure. Yeah, go figure. Right, yeah, the Irish collection. And then like, this is my sap green, right? So like, that's cool. And then I know that even if I get this on here, like a little bit of these on here, that I can push and pull them with pigment sticks, right? And I'm not gonna want them to be too opaque because then I'm not gonna see my photo, right? So back to what I was saying earlier about trying to still see your photo. Okay, so there's a couple things about this. I know that my friend is under here, trapped under here, suffocating. So I could do a couple things. I could definitely scrape. With a razor blade, and that's gonna be a lot of muscle and work. But I'm gonna do it. So just to sort of demo. I also know that like, basically what happened here for me is that I had a lot of texture in the underpainting. I don't have a simple image under here. I have burning, I have paint, I have a photo, I have a cutout edge. It's like too much. So what I did yesterday was I was kind of like, oh, let's show you this and let's show you that. So, but all of this is it's like action on action. It's just like busy on busy and it's just not working. So somebody's got to go. So I think that this wax has got to go and it's just got to go calmer. So I could cheat on the whole razor blade thing and I could just get the torch out, right? And I can just torch it. So let's see how that goes. So I'm just gonna torch it and, you know, okay, I'm getting some visibility back, okay? So that's nice. I'm seeing the underneath picture again and I know I like it, right? I'm seeing the underneath picture again. I'm even seeing like this cute little gesso-y flower stencil thing I made. And this is really thick in the center, but look now, like now as I'm liquid, I can start to see my picture again, right? Oh, there it is. So what's happening too is the torching is going to take away all the texture that I had, right? Because I'm really liquefying. But this is a lot easier than taking my I just, you know, this is a lot easier than scraping, man.
Yeah, no kidding, especially with the little razor blade.
Especially with that tiny little razor blade, right? So here now wow, now look. So we just basically took like a piece of, and I keep using that word. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, now look, right? Oh, hello. Now there's my flower on the floor over there, you guys. And on the shelf, you're looking for your parts? Yes. There's some right there on the right, and then there's some on the floor over there, and then over the edge. But I tried to put most of them on the floor over there. Okay. All right, so now this is hot, and we're just gonna let it cool. Much better, right? I mean, at least I can see what I had. I mean, I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And so now it's just cooling.
I love the way the burnt wood looks underneath the wax. It's very charming.
I know. Oh, thank you. I like it too. I mean, the only thing is I kind of have to be careful with this one that it doesn't get too dark.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Because the burning is cool. Like I like the burning over here.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of afraid that this was going to just turn into a black hole.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do that though. I mean, I could make this like a far away black, you know, and then basically this would be bowing forward, right? But in a way, okay, so in a way, you sort of do need to make these like strategic decisions, like what's coming forward and what's going back, right? So we can go with that. And again, like you can have that idea and go with it, but you know, and then if it doesn't work out, I mean, it doesn't work out, right? But you chose something. All right. So we're just waiting. As far as these little holes go, if I want to get rid of them, I can just kind of like scrape the surface of the wax and like fill them in, right? So I have this, like I bought like this box of like 100 razor blades or 50 razor blades or whatever. So, you know, I can always start with a freshie. And it's very, you know, this is actually still, it's still hot. Like I really, that torch just really, I have no idea how hot that thing is, you know? But like, look how beautiful this is. I mean, my God, like we just, right? If you love wax, you're just like loving this right now, you know? I mean, it's just so good. And what I do like about it is that I can see this line, but it's under the, like the wax is smooth, even though I can see it. Like I can easily blend that with pigment stick. And I kind of like this. I like the little like texture coming through so that I have like this juxtaposition between these two textures, right? So this encaustic medium texture is coming out, right? So I think this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way this is cooling, and it's way better than it was, right? But like yesterday, I was all like, woo, this is great. I love it. So it's like
you certainly commit when you go for it.
well, you kind of need to. I mean, I tell my encaustic artists, I'm like, why are you holding back? Like, if you're gonna add wax, just add a ton of wax, and then guess what? If you don't like it, take it back. Like, you do. You kind of have to, like, if you're jumping, jump. You know, like, you know, like if you're gonna go like dive off the diving board, you're not gonna, you know, don't stand there at the end of the diving board. Somebody else wants to jump. You know. All right. So I think that's pretty beautiful. I mean, and in a lot of ways, I do want to do something down here. So I just need to think about what exactly. I could do a dark color of encaustic, right? Or I feel like I want to fill this in too, so I could do a light color here. I think that this should be a light color. And I just don't think it should be busy. So these are hard decisions. Okay. And I don't think I want to do another stencil, but I could do another, like one more stencil here. All right. Now this will get clearer too. But I'm kind of like loving this sort of like really foggy feeling up here. All right. So just for argument's sake, now I want you guys to be able to see, I'm going to try to go higher so you can see palette. Let me see. How's that?
That's
Good?
pretty good.
All right, good. And I'll pin this picture. Okay. All right, now I'm not going to guarantee that this is going to work out, but we're just going to go for it, right? So I definitely did make a conscious plan. And I'm going to kind of try to demonstrate this sort of like layering of encaustic idea. So I don't need, okay.
The weaving, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm going to try to weave. Yay. I know. Because what I want is like, okay, so right now, let's just talk about this for a second. So right now, basically, like this is where like, okay, so I'm stuck. Okay, so I'm stuck. Okay. And I was really stuck when I started, but then I just picked the torch. Right? So I was stuck and I had two decisions, razor blade or torch. I picked torch. Okay, so I definitely think I made a good decision there. Right? So pat myself on the back. Okay, good. All right. So, but now I'm in this place and I'm stuck. Okay. What I know that I like, because I know this photo, is I like this flower, I like this arching line, and I like this curve that I made, and I like this flower here. I don't really care. This thing is, what is this? Like this thing, what is it? Like, what is this? It's like nothing.
Lace?
What?
Is it lace?
It's nothing. It's kind of like, it's nothing really. I mean, I think there's a flower here. This I tried to do another stencil, but I think it looks terrible. So I think that like that I can make like a semicircle here of some type of wax. And then I want that semicircle to go back, and I want this flower to come over it. Okay. Then I also think that this should go to open air. So somehow this this should go light, like as if it's going into like that fuzzy, like out of focus. So like my out of focus is not at the top anymore. I'm switching it to over here. Right? So do you remember like on this one? Remember on this one how I made the top like the out of focus, like fuzz land? It is actually up here, but I'm gonna make it over here. So this is far away. This is far away and dark, but this is gonna be far away and light. I think that's gonna work. I'm gonna try. Okay. So with that said, let's do the light first. And I could use any of these light colors, right? So like, and look how pretty, like they're just neutral. They're pretty. These, like any of like, right? I can mix those three together. I'm gonna do those first. So I'm gonna start building with the classic. And then if I wanted to tint them, you know, I could add that one or like a little bit of this one, right? So they're all beautiful. All right, so here we go. So, and whatever color this is, I need a lot more of it because I'm just like in love with it. So this is what the wax looks like on pure. And then I'm doing like very similar to how I did with the pigment sticks. I'm sorry for the background noise, you guys, but my son Rory is having an art show.
Ah,
Cool.
Yeah.
good for
And
him.
yeah, he had a gallery call him and offer him a show
Awesome.
on my phone. And I was like, wait, what? Oh no. Wait, you know where? I don't know. I don't know if I can share them. I don't know. There's not a room in my house for 2 hours. But he made these sculptures. They're pretty cute. And this guy bought one of his sculptures and then he opened a gallery, so he wants more sculptures. All right, so hence the grinding noise. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
So here's the wax medium, right? In the big pot. I have my mud at the end, right? So I'm gonna just extend. I'm just gonna extend all these colors. Now I didn't do it exactly like I did it with the pigment sticks, but I could, and I could say like, here's my dark color. I could put it over here and hopefully it's green. Oh yeah, perfect. Oh, sorry, there's my darn hat. All right, so it's green. Okay, so that's good. So that's similar. So, and then look how those two are nice together. All right, so let's go. So here I'm gonna just paint this on. Now, if I wanted to test how opaque or translucent it is, I could grab a piece of paper, right? And I could test and I can tell you that's pretty opaque, right? So I'm gonna go for it. All right, so I'm gonna put this color here and I'm trying to be like, you know, like follow the line, right? So I have this little space that's gonna be like, you see this little space? It's okay. I don't know what this is like kind of weird. Maybe I can make that prettier actually. And I don't care, it doesn't have to be, but just the idea that there's like an edge there, right? And I don't care if I go over a little bit because that could be pretty, right? And I can blend these colors together. So do you see on my palette, I went like into the purple, then more into the peachy, and I'm just putting them on together, right? So I very rarely just ever do like one color. Okay, so we could definitely say that about me, right? And look, I got a little bit of green in there, and I'm gonna I'm gonna go over the edges a little bit, right? Because you don't want it to be just like, you know, like even like if you're doing Photoshop, you just don't want it to be like such a hard outline. You're gonna want to blend it. Now, because I did all that color over there, I'm gonna do that somewhere else. And I don't love this thing. Oh, you guys can't see it. All right. I wish I could just do a little bit higher. Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. Okay, that's a little bit better. A little bit higher. Okay. So because I did that color over here, and you guys remember me, like my rule about paint. If I have the paint on my palette, I'm gonna try to use it all, right? So I'm like, Melissa, I'm kind of creating the weave here by just like this light going over this dark, right? That's kind of a weave right there. So now the light part is coming up and it's forcing the dark to go back. Okay. And then look, I might be able to like salvage this flower. Now it's looking a little bit more like a flower. Right. So now I'm like seeing a flower here because I like formed it a little bit with the encaustic. And I'm just going to go ahead. I don't know. I'm just going to use this purple in here. I'm just going to hide that burning a little bit. I want to get rid of this line. I'm actually just going to go for it. I'm having fun. I'm just going to paint right up into here. I'm going to paint right up into here. Okay. Okay, so now this is a lot of paint and it's like a lot of texture, right? So it's like a lot of chaos. I use most of the paint. Just gonna try to get rid of the rest of the paint on the palette, just use it up, right? And what's nice too is it was definitely thicker at the top. So I feel like this kind of like, you know, made it more even. And the purple took over. So I don't know if you noticed, but the purple definitely took over my encaustic palette, right? So now it doesn't even really look peachy anymore. It definitely just looks all purple, which is not necessarily a bad thing, just noticing, right? Kind of just light, and I'm lightly sort of brushing this in to kind of, you know, get that sort of like waxy feeling all over. All right, so technically what I did was I created like now a foreground. So the flowers are definitely back and this is like in front. So Marsha, I have to fuse this now, right? Because this is now wax on wax.
Yes.
So next thing is I'm gonna fuse it. So I always just go, I don't really think about what I did too much. I enjoyed the process. I'm gonna fuse very lightly and I'm sort of just gonna start loving like how the wax looks on top of the wax. And I'm just gonna go you could go even slower, right? So, right, you can go even slower, you know, like really slow. And you can fuse the whole thing if you want, you know, and up and down really slow. And I would say I'm about 6 inches. Did you say 6 inches? Yeah. I'd say I'm about 6 inches from. I don't really like to get closer than that unless I'm angry. Right? Okay. So the way that I brushed that on there too, I think really gave me like very floral, like, right? The way I was kind of just like it's kind of matching this flowers. That's why I don't know why I haven't been painting flowers this whole time, my whole life. It's like very easy. I think that the wax and the flowers just go so well together, right? So the brush strokes just kind of like flow that way. All right. So I'm gonna wait a second and then I'm gonna scrape a little with a razor blade, right? Because that to me is like blending with a paper towel for wax. Okay, so taking a razor blade and just lightly, right? Do you remember how I did that with the paper towel? I painted with the brushes, right? I just enjoyed that process. And then I stopped the painting, I switched to a paper towel and I blended. So let's just say that this is like similar to that. Okay, so I painted with the wax. Now I'm gonna take a razor blade when I feel like it's cool and I'm gonna blend it a little bit. I'm also gonna start to notice like what is working, right? So technically, like, I think this whole area is beautiful, right? I think this area right here is beautiful. I'm not sure why the hell I went over here, you know, but I did. I think that this area is beautiful, right? So I always think it's good to take a minute and notice, you know, what you like, you know, and what you don't like, and not in a critical way, just like, okay. So it also helps me sort of figure out what I want to work on scraping back. And then we're going to have to make another decision. All right, so here I go. So I know I'm going to scrape this back, right? So this is my razor blade and I'm going to scrape back. So very similar to how I use the paper towel. And I scrape. Now you guys have to remember that I've been doing this every day for a long time. So I make the scrape, right? So I pull the wax off the razor blade. And then I'm sort of letting, it's like I'm letting the wax come back, like do its thing. Like I'm letting it come to me, right? I'm letting it show me what it does well. I'm letting it talk back to me, right? So it's like more of a conversation than just my getting in there and telling it what to do, right? So I'm changing my sort of like, headspace, right? And also I'm interested in this curve here. So if you notice that I'm scraping in a curve, did you notice that?
Yes.
So it's exactly like how I talked about brushing in a curve yesterday, or brushing in a circle, or brushing in a straight line, right?
Mhm.
So same thing with paper toweling or razor blading. There's a flower here and there's a curve. So I'm in a reduction mode. And what happens when I'm reducing is I'm seeing the photo again, right? So I'm bringing the photo back, taking the wax down and bringing the photo back. I'm also letting the wax sort of talk to me a little bit about where it wants to be. All right, so I'm getting this cool like V-like shape here, kind of like this arrowhead shape. I'm getting a nice little curve here. I feel like I'm getting rid of that sharp cutout line that I had. I'm getting a little bit more of my peach back, right? That was kind of under that purple,
Mhm.
right? So I like that. That's pretty. I like this sort of like little droppy things here. So I'm just sort of like noticing what I'm liking about what's happening. And I'm also just loving that I'm getting a nice smooth surface, right? Okay, and I'm kind of liking that I have this, what I think this could be a nice flower over here, this weird white shape, right? And I like this thing that's happening here, right? So I'm just kind of noticing, I don't know what this is, but it's just might be like a stepping stone to the next thing.
Mhm.
Okay. So I feel like my idea is starting to happen, right? But and I think that my idea about this being totally light over here, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna give it up. And I think what I'm gonna do is that this can go neutral over here, but kind of have this like I don't know, interesting design. But I think I'm gonna go back to it being light at the top, being like it is in the photo, right? Like being light at the top and
Mhm.
having the light source back up here. I think it's gonna work. So I'm gonna give up that idea and switch my direction, right? Make a different decision. All right, so at this point, I know that I need to add another wax layer. And so I'm gonna start to think about what I want that next wax layer to be. And I have a couple options here. So one of my options would be to add a dark color, right? I could add a dark color over the purple, and I could try to do a semicircle, right? So let's look back at this painting for a second. And what I had to do to make this happen was I had to do a translucent glaze of this like bluey gray, and I cut a stencil in this shape. So I took a big piece of paper. It doesn't have to be big. It just needs to be a piece of paper, and it can be any kind of paper. It could be newsprint, right? And I made a stencil. So let's just see if I can get the shape right. So here's my semicircle, right? So, and anything will work to block the wax, you guys, like, right? The wax is not that aggressive. So do you see what I'm trying to do here?
So you're making a mask.
I'm making a mask. But but technically I need it to go the other way. I'm just showing you this, but technically I need
You need the others, right?
I need to put the paint here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you want, so you're covering up all the things you don't want the wax on, and only the window where the arch is showing is going to have wax.
Exactly. And that's how I was able to get what I call like a horizon line, right?
Mhm.
Like a going back and a coming forward, right? So this is coming forward, this is going back, right? So, and then even though there's all kinds of beautiful like waxy texture in here, and then I don't know if you guys can see this because it's small, but this is like the best part for me was then I was able to take a light colored stencil and go from this whole reality over here, which proved that this was in front of that.
Mm.
Okay. All right, so this is, I think this is working out nicely. And I think that there's potential here. So I could do one more, sort of like light textury thing. I could also do a neutral color, such as this color, right? Which I see, because I still am like seeing too much of this, like around the outside. And I think, do you see how this is pretty with this
Mhm.
and this with the burn? So I could do one more, just kind of brush with that. Let's do it. And I can just mix it. So like if I have, right, I'm just gonna mix it right in here, right? Because I already have this color in the painting and now, and then if I wanna lighten this, I could lighten it a little bit by using like this color, right? And this was just gonna warm it up and kind of and then I can take, and I can switch brushes. So let me switch brushes too. So I'm gonna use a little bit of a smaller brush. Oh, sorry, there's my damn head. And then, so I'm gonna cut my off with her head. Okay, and then I'm gonna add wax medium, right? This is just a pot of wax medium to make it, right? But that's a pretty color. That's like a caramelly,
That is nice.
like a really pretty color. And I'm into like, I'm back to my, for a long time I loved brown. I really liked brown. And then I was kind of like off brown, but now I'm back. Brown is good. Especially for photography. I mean, we don't have that many, there aren't that many earth tones, right? But brown is definitely one of them. It's a goodie. It's a goodie when used well. All right, so, and we can always test, right? You can always test your color. So I think that this light, right? And we can just look. So we know that this looks nice. Like we know that these two look nice together, right? Okay. So I'm not really gonna paint with that much, like, I'm just gonna paint to kind of blend, right? So I'm not painting anything. I'm just kind of blend. I'm really just trying to obscure some harsh lines I have underneath and sort of just create this platform that I'm gonna add that mask onto. I mean, I could go into here a little bit if I wanted to. And you know me, I like to use up all my paint. And also anywhere that I have like grooves and holes right now, by putting this other color on top, I'm filling them, right? So think back to like stuccoing, a board, right? So I'm going to fill it with this color, which is just the same as when I earlier today took the pigment stick and kind of like pushed it into the holes. It's like, that's what we love about the wax, right? Okay. And just for argument's sake, I might put, a little very light brush stroke of, oh, don't let my hat. If you see the hat, you guys have to speak up. I don't know where my head's going. Okay, so I'm just like lightly brushing this in here, just to keep it like the continuity. Let's just like, that's a good word. And then I love, like, this is really pretty, these colors, right? All right, so then Marsha, what do I do next?
Fuse.
We're gonna fuse.
Yep, excellent. Everybody all together. Fuse. Okay, and again, I'm gonna go like slow and steady, right? And like like so beautiful, like, right? It's like wax is so beautiful. Like, I love all these brush strokes. I love the lights and darks. And I mean, there's no like, there, you know, you can fuse as long as you feel like it, really. You can just fuse quick. You can fuse, you know. And you could leave some areas like a little bit more brushy, right? And some make some smoother, right? So these are, you know, as you're fusing, you can kind of decide where you want to go, with it. All right. So now I have to just wait. And again, like I didn't clean my palette because for whatever reason, I know that like light brown, I still have that green over there. I'm thinking about that translucent layer could be green. I can't decide if it's going to be green. I don't know, or gray. I have to figure it out. Or it could just be like very light, like almost wax medium, like gray. It could be very translucent. We'll have to see. All right. So to clean my razor blade, I can just put it here, right? Heat it up, and then just wipe it. Okay. So here we go. Now this is all about revealing, right? And you know how people are about revealing their secrets, right? They come slow and steady, right? Slow. Or they just blurt it out. I mean, I don't know. Actually, it's terrible now. I don't even know why. All right. So we're looking though. It's more like an archaeological dig, right? You can't just, if you go in there too fast, you'll break the bones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want the wax to just be the wax. Like, I cannot even tell you, like, I just had like a really happy aha moment, just like right up here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, right? It's just like so pretty, right?
Yeah, you
And
have a
it's
nice
kind
blend of colors.
oh my God, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
And even just like this little hole, like it's just, right? So you have to take the time to kind of just like notice, you know, just let the wax. And look, I didn't go any crazy colors. I didn't do any crazy difficult brush stroking, right? Just sort of like, you know, and just letting the razor blade and the hockey, letting the wax and the heat, like letting it all just do its thing, right? I feel like I'm doing very little. I don't feel stressed out. I feel relaxed. I switch directions. I can rotate the panel too, right? And if your wax is getting a little bit sticky, like, and your razor blade's getting all messed up, just put it on the heat. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to suffer that bad razor blade. Get another one. $5 for 100. Right? And if you're getting like little like cut lines in it, like I don't mind them because I think that, you know, I kind of want people to know that I'm like using a razor blade. Like I'm literally painting with a razor blade. Like that's pretty unusual, you know? I don't think every artist can actually say that. You know, I used to have this joke too, like when people are like, well, what do you do? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an acoustic painter. And they're like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, nice girls play with razor blades. All right. So again, like I'm just kind of looking for what's here, blending this purple layer and this like brownie layer together, right? So now as I go thinner, like I can see the purple coming through, which is like really pretty. Going around this flower, right? And I'm just kind of liking this, you know, all the qualities. I also got rid of all of those hard lines of my collage, right? So I pretty much, except for this one, I've pretty much gotten rid of all of what I call like the split level, right, of the collage, right? I did get rid of the paper cut, but I'm okay. I can't even really remember where that was. Oh, it was over here. But I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm okay. I can let it go. I can curve this a little bit. All right. And again, like it's sort of like in the scraping back that the beauty happens, I think.
Mhm.
It's amazing how much your layers are becoming, it's becoming one thing piece. You're right. You're losing the separate sections and they're all kind of blending and merging together.
Right. And now I'm going to try to push and pull it more so that this quiets down and goes back, right? This is going to lighten up and these flowers are going to pop, right? That's my goal. Okay.
Mhm.
So I have a strategy, right? And I think I actually, so I don't love this guy.
Mhm.
I just don't like the way it feels or looks. So I could do another, but at the same time, like this could be some type of like calla lily, like you know, like I have trumpet vine. This could be like a trumpet flower here.
Mhm. Yeah, you could use it as a stem too, or the a viney kind of thing. You're right. Yeah.
Right. So I see this flower. I see a flower here. You know, this was the stencil flower. I actually kind of see a flower here.
Hmm.
Right? Like right here in the front. But I just don't, I'm not gonna like be deceived by that or persuaded by them. So, and I think this needs to go away. So I'm gonna add one more layer. We should probably take a break though, so I just need to eat something. So, but let me, and I think what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna not go for a darker color. Oh, maybe. Okay, wait, this is a hard one. So when I can't decide about something, but I know like just texturally, I don't want it to be like that, I can always do a layer of clear. So when you can't decide, I could also do a layer of like this goldy iridescent color could be pretty. Or I could do,
All right.
I could do,
Mm.
or I could do this. Oh, maybe I should do this. This is going to be translucent because this, should I do this?
Yep.
Give it a whirl.
And this is, oh my,
You can't help it. You're leaning over the
I know.
towel.
I wish I was so this is really pretty. This is why I love my mud, but look how pretty that is with the other colors. I mean, this is like, and this goes back to what we did earlier today. I mean, look at the similarity between that
Oh, right. Yeah.
and what we did earlier today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So definitely a happy place. We definitely know we like it. Okay. All right. And I'm not going to clean my brushes. Oh, this is going to be perfect because I know, oh, this is beautiful. This is just like, it's just like, oh, look, and I got a little dot of it there. I'm just going to leave that. So, oh yeah. So I'm really just focusing on filling this hole. Oh, I got a little clump on there, but I'll just, so I'm just going to keep it on this side. Oh, I just love it. It's so pretty. And I just said I was going to keep it on that side, but you know.
You can't help yourself.
Ah! You're like, liar, liar, pants on fire. Oh, someone else mentioned food. I'm so glad. All right. So here we go. Fuse, right? And then razor blade. And also, I'm just going to, well, I could leave that clump on there and fuse it and see what it does. I mean, I'm not in a hurry. Like, I'm not in a hurry. It's not like, you know, it's not a problem. All right, but hopefully like I blend it. It still feels like there's a ridge there, but hopefully when I fuse it, it'll go away. Okay, so now it's like, it's pretty, but it's a little too like pinky for me. Now I don't mind that as an undertone, but I'm definitely gonna need to scrape that back. Right? And hopefully, So this is like too, like once you have a couple layers on there, you're like, like I could really scrape it back. All right, so let's see. I should wait. I'm gonna get rid of this guy. But I think I'm just gonna keep going and keep adding. It's pretty. It was too much, but now when I take it back a little bit, it's pretty. It's good. I have a nice smooth surface here. So when you get those little gummies on there, you can kind of like, do you see that? You can keep them, right? You could kind of like turn your blade on its side and keep them. They can be fun textures, but I don't want that on that flower right there. So then you can just kind of clean the blade, right? So that's why it's good to have more than one. So one on the heat, one heated up, right? But this is pretty. I can lighten this corner over here. I kind of see like this weird flower happening here. Did you guys see that? Like here's the center and like here's a petal. All right. Oh, that's pretty.
Yes.
Right. So now I feel like I have light coming from behind. Right. That's pretty.
It's really pretty.
Mm-hmm. So this is what we love about the acoustic, right? I got rid of that ridge, right? I'm getting some of that, like whatever this must be from that cutout I did. Oh, here it is. This is the cutout. You see that? So that's like kind of coming through. This is pretty flat. Now, if I wanted to, there's some holes here. So if I wanted to fill them, I can literally like take the wax and force them into the holes. Okay, and if I'm gonna add a stencil here, I'm gonna need this to be nice and flat. So I'm gonna actually wanna intentionally flatten it. So I'm just gonna clean this brush a little bit. So I wanna add in that, I'm gonna double that, I'm gonna go make that stencil again. So I've decided now, I just made an executive decision that this is gonna cascade here, and I'm gonna use that Martha Stewart flower right where I used it before, but it's gonna be the layer that comes over the other layer. So what I'm gonna do is, this is kind of gesso-y. I'm gonna get rid of that, right? And I'm gonna go over it, and I'm gonna put wax medium there. And the reason I'm doing it is kind of like just giving it support so that the stencil will go on smoothly. So I'm just building up this layer in clear. So it's gonna be like right here. Right, so I'm just kind of like giving it, right? And you can do this at any time. Like I could have like fixed that crack and like, see there's a crack here too. Like I could just kind of like heal that crack with wax medium just to give it like, and even you could just use it as an in-between, like as a texture, right? And it's clear, it's not gonna change the color that much. It might change the sharpness of the photo, but it's just gonna kind of like give you like a leveler. Literally. All right. And I think that's a perfect place to stop. I'm going to fuse that. And this is like, it's like a super dreamy little piece. But now it needs to really show itself, right? So we got to like push and pull it so that it has more dimension, right? Because now it's sweet, but it's just like flat as all get out, right? I mean, nothing. I guess like, you know, this could be okay. Like this could be someone's work. It could be okay like this, but I want more. I want it to do more for me, and I want it to get more 3D. All right, so I'm gonna take a break. I can't.
Are you going to send a new code, a new link?
Yeah, I'm gonna send a new link.
Okay.
At like in 20 minutes. Let me just go. I'm just gonna make a little sandwich. Stuff it in my little sandwich, and then when I come back. When I'm going to come back, we're going to do this. I just want everyone to help me remember, right? So we're going to do a translucent glaze here in a dark color. Okay. And then we're going to do a stencil. We're going to do the stencil. I think I have to make this wider. See, this is too narrow. I think I have to go wider. I think it has to go wider, right? I have to recut. I don't like this shape now. But okay, I'll fix it. All right, so I'll see you guys on 20 minutes. I'll do another Zoom link, okay?
Okay, great. Thank
Okay,
you.
awesome. All right, thanks. Okay,
Bye.
bye.